Hi, I'm Elizabeth Keller, and this is my mind map. Exciting stuff. I'm going to explore explanatory, informative, or informational writing for an 8th grade English class. In this assignment, or this unit, students will be reading some historically significant speeches, and then in their writing, they will answer the questions: why are these speeches so appealing and memorable? Is it what they say, how they say it, or both? And why should Americans be familiar with them? And I might tweak those, by the way. So this is all preliminary stuff. So, things might be changed. I hope that's okay. I'm going to start with pre-writing. No, I'll start with mentor text down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Students will have read Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream, and they'll have analyzed that for literary elements like figurative language, similes, metaphors, personification. That speech is loaded with those, as you know. And they'll also have analyzed it for sound devices, especially repetition and alliteration. And then they'll also have read an abridged version of Patrick Henry's Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech. And they'll again have analyzed that for literary elements and sound devices as well as meaning. They'll watch a PBS Civil War mini-series video on the Gettysburg Address, and they'll also read the Gettysburg Address and again analyze that for literary elements and sound devices and meaning. And they'll also use as mentor text 1 or 2 sample explanatory essays, because I have not taught this with my 8th graders yet. So I want to make sure they understand the format. So what I'm thinking is, for this unit, my pre-writing, I'm going to spend a lot of time with pre-writing, because I have found that if kids know what they're going to write before they start, the end product is a lot better, and the kids feel a lot better while they're drafting. So I have 3 pre-writing lessons, and I think it's important, and I hope that's okay. The first one is in the top center of the screen. This is where they will use a graphic organizer to compare the literary elements and the sound devices in each speech. Originally, I was going to do a Venn diagram, but I have 3 things here. So I think this would be best if they complete this in small groups and figure out which speeches have which elements. Even though they've already done it, putting it in one form is going to help them as they figure out what they want to put into this essay. The second pre-writing lesson will be analyzing a sample essay or 2 to determine the format of this kind of writing. So explanatory writing is similar to persuasive, in that there's a thesis statement and it's explored, but we don't have to provide 2 sides of an issue, or at least address an opposing view. And it was interesting when I read the appendix from the core content standards, and the writing samples that were provided for 8th grade. There's no persuasive writing sample. There are 2 explanatory samples and 1 narrative, which I find interesting. And 7th grade has the persuasive, and 9th grade has a persuasive sample, but 8th grade does not. And I remember the standardized test last year. The kids were not asked to write a persuasive essay. So I'm going to really kind of hit them a little bit more in depth this spring with some explanatory practice and exploration. So they really need to understand the format of this kind of writing and how to develop it in a number of different ways. So for this unit, we might just look at 1 exemplar as a sample, maybe 2, I'm not sure. And I might take them right from the core content standard appendix, the ones that we read for 8th grade that I saw. So that would be the second pre-writing lesson. The third pre-writing lesson is way over here in the bottom left part of the screen. And that's how to organize the essay in a graphic organizer, usually boxes and bullets. My kids like that. they write their thesis in the top box, and then they have bullets for their body paragraphs, and it seems to work out well. So we will go over how to do that, and students can work individually at first and then with partners to kind of share information about what they're going to explore in their paragraph. So a lot of time spent on pre-writing, and again, they need to, if they don't know what they're going to say, as we all know, they're going to have a bad time, and they're not going to like it, and they're not going to create something that they're going to be proud of, because they won't be comfortable while they're doing it. For the research part of the assignment, students will be researching background information on Martin Luther King, Patrick Henry, and Abraham Lincoln, as well as the time period that the speech was given. So in social studies, these students have already studied the Revolutionary War. They looked at Patrick Henry's speech in social studies, but they didn't explore it in depth. They're not familiar, at least this year, with the Gettysburg Address in social studies, because they have not done the Civil War yet. And they might be familiar with I Have a Dream. I'm sure they are, but in 8th grade, we're really going to look at it in depth starting next week. Also, when they're doing their research, they're going to look at public reactions to the speech at the time, and that might be a little bit difficult because I don't think there was much with the Gettysburg Address, but we'll see what they can find, and they'll look and see who was the audience at the time the speech was given, and this is going to give them background information about their speech, and they will determine what they're going to include in their essay. And the lesson for the research would be using research in essays and determining what to use, and almost more importantly, how to add it to an essay correctly. They have a hard time doing this. They kind of just want to plop it in there and not give any kind of introductory information or explanatory information to, connect it to the point that they're trying to make. So we'll have a lesson on how to do that. Now, for the drafting part of the assignment, once they get all their pre-writing things together, they have the research, they have their comparative information about each speech that has the literary elements, the sound devices, and of course the meanings, and they know the format of the essay, and they're ready to write. One of the things that we're going to do is look at some introductions. My students should know about thesis statement writing, but I know that there's one of our peers who teaches at the 9th grade level said that kids even at that level have trouble sometimes, presenting a clear thesis statement. So at this point in this unit, I think I'll look at introductions, but I might need to also revisit a lesson in writing a clear thesis statement. So at this point, I say that lesson 5 is just about introductions, where they will be exploring some samples and then practicing different ways to write an introduction before they go on to the rest of the essay. That's what I'm thinking about right now. Of course, that might change. Now, I don't have a revising lesson in there right now. I always do revising. What I put on the screen was just to focus on sentence structure, especially eliminating run-ons, sentence variety, the word choice, like maybe they'll go back and see, did I repeat the same word over and over? And then I have a lesson that we could do to kind of remedy that. And then using transitions, because the standards really say a lot about transitions. And they also mention conclusions a lot in the standards. So I might decide to add something about writing a conclusion that sums everything up that they explored in their writing. So at this point, this is going to be my unit. I hope I did this correctly and not cast in stone. Thank you.